I'd certainly like to be. I'd like to be. There's been a lot of hard work that has gone into this through players, coaches. There's a lot of underclassmen on that field. You know, there's a lot of young guys on the field. There's a lot of young talent on the field. I understand the hard position that we put a lot of people in with the record that we have, but I also think with what we've done from an academic standpoint and the type of young men and the relationships in that locker and the job that they've done representing this program, I'd like to be. But I also understand that we put some people in a very tough position with where we are, and I understand the nature of this business is to win games. People don't really care if you're on a fourth quarterback or your fifth defensive end or how many freshmen you're playing. They want to win, and I think we've worked hard for the last 3 years to build this program. It's just really frustrating that we've been through the type of season that we went through. But I'd certainly like to be. I would like to see these young players develop into what I know that they can become.
Your standpoint, you want to keep fighting?
Yes, I'd like to keep fighting.
Skip,
I would like to see these young players through.
Have you had any conversations or any communication with administration to get a sense for how they feel?
We had talked about that. I think what's been said all along is that we would evaluate this at the end of the season. And I would expect, I'm sure there have been a lot of discussions and conversations, and I will have the opportunity to sit down, and I would imagine we'll start to get into this tomorrow.
Would you envision making any changes on your coaching staff?
Those will be things that we'll talk about tomorrow. Those will be things that we'll talk about, but I would definitely think that some of those things need to be done, yes.
How do you turn it around, Skip? Get the opportunity to turn it around. How do you move forward with what you've got and get the program back?
Well, no, it's not just that. And again, these are a lot of things that we can talk about as we go forward. But I look at having a Tevin Mims back and a Ryan Giddens back, and having Aaron Lynch, who's redshirt and who was arguably the best player on this team, and being able to get a pass rush influence with him, to watch the young defensive linemen and Elkina Watson and Todd Chandler continue to mature and take another step, to see Dede Lattimore come back as a senior, and to see Tayshawn Whitehurst as a freshman, and Rashard Clyde and Bullock and a lot of these guys that are playing that are coming back, to see Matt Floyd and Bobby Eveld, along with a couple of the additions that we've looked at in recruiting. When I look at, you look at the wide receivers, I can't even remember them all, but Terrence Mitchell's out, our biggest big play threat that we haven't had the last couple of weeks, and I think it's been incredibly obvious the last 2 weeks that we don't have a big play threat in the game. Sterling Griffin is not there. You've got Derek Hopkins, another one of our speedsters, who will be back. I think not just through the recruiting side of things to be able to add some things, but to be able to get some guys back out onto the field. I don't think this team is at full strength right now. I think they're battling, they're competing, they're fighting, they've stayed together through this whole thing. But I would like to see these young guys develop and mature, and I'd like to see this team back at full strength. And like I said, I understand the injury bug is part of it, but we have had an awful lot of them. I mean, when you look at, we started with the receivers were our deepest position going into the season. We played a number of walk-ons tonight, at the wide receiver position, just because of injuries, and we're one deep pretty much across the board except for one position.
Is job one the quarterback, whether it's what you have or recruiting?
Yes.
Getting that solid?
Yes. Yes.
Skip, these last 2 losses before this were on the road, so this was the first time you'd been back here. To get the boos from the fans as you go in the tunnel there, I imagine you were surprised, but how does that feel, just to get that reaction from the fans?
Well, I understand their frustration. I understand their frustration. We're all frustrated. I mean, and I think they're expressing their frustration with the season, and they work hard to support this program. I'm very appreciative to everybody that came out tonight to support the seniors, and I understand their frustrations, and it wasn't a thing. It's not an anger or mad. It's, you know what, I'm with you. I'm booing me too right now. I mean, we want to win, and the frustration needs to be taken out somewhere. And I understand that as the head football coach, that's where that responsibility lies, and that's where it falls.
And being in a football family, this isn't your first rodeo, right? You've been through these sort of things.
I do understand the business.